What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Bryant Bulldogs Sports Hour on 990 WBOB. I'm your host, Brian Costa, and we are glad to have you back on the number one program for all things Bryant Athletics. I'm joined alongside, as always, by Matthew Carvalho in our Sprout co-working studios. Matt, how you doing this evening?
Oh, I am doing absolutely great, Brian. As good as I can be. But how are you doing tonight, Brian?
Absolutely, Matt. I'm doing great tonight. Glad to have you back here on the program. We got some exciting things to talk about tonight. Coming up in just a few short minutes, we'll be joined alongside by head women's basketball coach Lynne-Ann Kokoski to talk about her team's historic victory over Boston College this past week. Then at 8:30, head baseball coach Ryan Klosterman will join the show to discuss the 2026 season on the horizon. And then in our final segment, head men's basketball coach Jamion will give us the latest on his team as they close out non-conference play this month. It's an exciting show. We got a lot to talk about tonight. So, Matt, obviously really excited to have Coach Christian, Coach Lynn back on the show, and then obviously the debut of Coach Klosterman. We're going to get some December baseball talk here, Matt.
Oh, yeah, Brian. Before you know it, it's going to be baseball season. We're
Absolutely.
almost there.
It's a great time of year. I'm really excited for it. But Matt, before we get into those guests tonight, just wanted to start tonight with our opening segment. We're going to do that by recapping Bryant's game against Marist. They ended up falling to the Red Foxes in that one by a final score of 82-74. Bryant would end up dropping to 3-9 on the year. At this point, Matt, just give me your opening takes from this game and kind of your opening thoughts.
Well, first off, my initial thoughts here, Brian, is I think in real life a bulldog probably could be a fox. I feel like that's a fair contest. They're both dogs. They're similar.
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
That's some very hardcore analysis here on Sports Talk. But to a more of the game intricacies. Look, it wasn't the best of showings on Saturday. And look, I mean, from an offensive perspective, there was plenty to take away from the Bryant side. You had 5 players with double-digit points in the loss against Marist. But look, for me, it was just a defensive churn that didn't go incredibly well for Bryant. And it was a slow first half. I mean, they picked things up in the second half. They both scored the same amount of points in the second half, but it was just the first half where they just kind of fell too far behind and couldn't get enough momentum in the second half to really come out on top in it.
Yeah, I think that's a good point there, Matt. The second half, they both scored 46 points in that one. And, there was some times where it looked like they had they were playing in relative control with Marist and they were able to play their games at times. But had a chance to talk with Coach Christian in the postgame, and he said that there were just too many chances where Marist had some, very, consistent runs, and they were able to kind of just get the best of Bryant in that one. And, I had, Tom Harkness from the Big Man Off Campus radio show send us over some stats, and he said that, listen, Marist is, one of the best defensive teams in the country against the 3. He talked about that with Coach Jamion in the postgame, and, Coach Christian, acknowledged that, and he talked about, seeing that with them. But, Bryant kind of still tried to go in and play their game, and unfortunately it didn't go their way. There were some takeaways that I had from that, somewhat being their shot selection, and then the other being their rebounding. This was something I had talked about with Tom during the game, and, we'll talk about it with Coach Christian a little bit. But Bryant, ranked in the country is the tallest team in the country, according to KenPom. But they ended up losing the rebounding margin to this one, 31-24. And unfortunately, they just weren't able to, get those extra possessions off the glass and turn the tide in their way. And, when you have the kind of size you do, you would expect that would be something of a plus for the Bulldogs. But it's been actually kind of a struggle for them, this season. They've had, some success with it in some games, but, what the record kind of shows is that there has been those kind of issues there. And I think that, when you look at the overall size of the team, it kind of looks to be like, okay, there's that you do see that potential for it. But when you maybe look at a guy like a Tim Radofsky, who maybe not is as filled out as someone who, you maybe want him to be at that age. But again, he's still so young in his development. Keegan Harvey, I think they want to see some more tenacity out of him. And then another reason for those struggles is that you've been missing Daniel Acqui, who's been out for some time. I know that when I talked to Coach Christian, he's expecting that he could be back as early as this next game against High Point. So we'll have to see how that all goes. And then, you talk about the shot selection in this one. We had Ty Tabalis, who is who had been the 2-time America East Rookie of the Week coming into this matchup. He finished 4-14 and then 2 of 11 from three in this one. And one of those threes ended up kind of coming, in garbage time when the team was trying to claw back in that one. So, the shot selection this team has been, unfortunately, they just haven't been able to get those shots to fall. And, Coach Christian has talked a lot about the shot quality of the team, and I think that's something that they really prioritize and they're trying to look into. And I know that, they're very analytical in their approach to these things, and I would be, I'm eager to hear kind of his take on it. But, all in all, the answer has just been that the shots haven't fallen so far. I think that he said that they're trying to, take and, make around, something around like 50% of their shots from three. And, unfortunately, with the shot selection of the team, you just haven't seen that to this point. Now, Matt, I will tell you this. When you look at, the team this year, and they're sitting at a 3-9 record, and, people might be kind of down on the program, not knowing maybe the direction of where things are going. I will point out this. The Bryant Bulldogs last year were 6-9 in non-conference play. However, against Division I opponents, they were 4-9 because they played 2 Division II or 3 schools within that stretch which basically gifted them 2 wins in that stretch. So Bryant, again, the team that went to March Madness, had this magnificent run last year, finished 4-9 in non-conference play, and there were some tough losses in there. You had the loss to Stonehill. You had a heartbreaker against Fordham in there. St. Bonaventure, they thought could have been a winnable game, but that one didn't go their way. And then to cap it all off, they ended non-conference play with a 60-point blowout loss to Grand Canyon, who, albeit, is a good team. Grand Canyon is a very good basketball team, but coming off that, there could have been some feelings of, the team feeling down, some doubt creeping in. You don't really maybe know what direction that group is going to go. And, we saw that group kind of grow up in real time. We saw the maturation of someone like a Connor Withers. We saw Earl Timberlake really step into form and become a conference player of the year. We saw Rafael Pinzon at one point being the leading three-point shooter in the country and was an absolute sniper for that team. So I will say this: there's always a chance that when the calendar turns to January, a team can really flip on its head like that team did last year, only losing 2 regular season games the rest of the way.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Brian. And there's always the possibility of that. And I think, what we'll see from this team is it will answer the question on if they're capable of doing just that. Do they have the same energy and the same tenacity that we saw in last year's team? And I think, we'll see hints of that in the next couple of non-conference games, but I think we won't truly have an answer until we start things off in Bangor in a little less than 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I think that is going to be, kind of the real litmus test for them. Like, these are obviously, great learning lessons for this team, the chance for them to have these chances now. And I think that, when you're playing these high caliber teams like UConn, obviously you'd love to, go in there and come out with the win and shock the world and have that kind of a whole thing. But I think that, when there are learning lessons you can take away from playing that high caliber talent and seeing how that kind of all matches up. So I think that's something that you have to take into account with it too. So, I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to do come conference play. Obviously, like you said, going up there to Maine, playing at the Pit, that's a tough arena to play in. It basically feels like you're straight out of Hoosiers or some, old school basketball movie, just seeing that place. It's a great setup for a basketball game. It really feels just like that old school vibe. So, excited to see what they'll do up there. It's, obviously going to be tough competition for them, but they have this High Point game coming up, which, again, High Point in themselves is a great, competitor. They're a great team. So, whether it's a win or a loss or however it comes together, I just want to see them, maybe have some more cohesion in that offense. I think that for them, that you want to see some of those threes maybe fall with some more consistency. I think that's going to be some of the keys to their success going into that one. But Matt, we're going to head off to a quick commercial break. When we're back, we're going to be joined alongside by head women's basketball coach Lynne-Ann Kokoski. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to 990 WBOB. Welcome back to the Bryant Bulldogs Sports Hour on 990 WBOB. Brian Costa, Matt Carvalho coming at you here on Monday night. Before we get into our next guest, we just want to say that tonight's broadcasts are brought to you from Sprout Co-working. For all your co-working needs, large meetings, office for a day, working remotely, events, or just trying to get away from the distractions at home, Sprout Co-working in Providence, Rhode Island is the place for you, the official co-working home of 990 WBOB. And now joining us on the Sprout Co-working phone lines is head women's basketball coach Lynne-Ann Kokoski. Coach Kokoski, welcome to the show. Glad to have you back on with us tonight.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. Well, listen, I know it's, almost been a week ago now since your last game against BC, but it was a historic one at that. It was your guys' first program's victory over a Power 4 opponent. Just to give us some of your opening thoughts from that game and just, how great that was for you guys as a program.
Yeah, I mean, really incredible win for, Bryant University, our women's basketball program, and for the girls. They believed that they could beat this team from the start, and minute to minute, I just thought they really were determined, and we played a really great game as a unit from start to finish, and I can't say enough really good things about our girls and how they stuck together through that.
Yeah, not only did you get this win, you guys were able to do it by snapping a 3-game losing streak. I know, obviously, you guys started the season off on a historic 7-0 pace. You guys had some of those setbacks in those games, and you were able to get it done there. Just this is kind of a 2-part question. Maybe during that stretch, what were maybe some things that you noticed that maybe kind of had the team maybe not playing up to your guys' standard in those games?
Yeah, I mean, I thought going through that little 3-game slide. The biggest thing for me was they had a great attitude through the whole thing. They stuck together, and it wasn't like, we lost who we were. A couple of those games, we just didn't make shots. We shot, poorly from the field and, went cold, especially the end of that Yale game. So it wasn't really anything in particular other than, sometimes the ball just doesn't go through the net. But I really liked that we didn't waver in terms of our mindset. We showed up every day to practice and, believing, hey, we weren't great last night. Okay, let's get it back today. And that's what's really exciting and promising about this team.
Yeah, I know that you guys ended up forcing 22 turnovers in that BC game. Was, that kind of a tenacity or anything else? What were some of points of emphasis, I guess, for you guys kind of going into that game?
Yeah, really the points of emphasis we're going in was transition defense, as they're a team that likes to get up and down the floor, and then obviously taking care of the ball ourselves, and then getting back to us who we were on the defensive side. So, I think you did see that, Bryant women's basketball team that did win 7 in a row, working together on the defensive side, moving on a string and really being there for one another, having each other's backs. And, I always say defense is, 1 against 5, meaning, all 5 of us are guarding the ball. It's not just, Bryant's responsibility to guard, Lynn. It's no, we all help guard the ball. So I think, we're getting back to that stage to us, and we know we need each other to continue to win and move this thing forward.
I think you as a coach probably know this better than anyone else, but I think that, it's fair to say that growth in, sports is not always linear, and you're going to have your ups and you're going to have those downs. How do you and your staff kind of manage that with this group, trying to get the best out of them, through maybe those hard times and even managing some of the success and trying to keep them, humble? How do you guys try to keep them balanced with that?
Yeah, one of the biggest things we talk about a lot is, win or lose, you only get 24 hours. So, or not even 24 hours, I should say. You really get the rest of the evening, the rest of the night, the rest of the day, if it's a weekend game, to enjoy it or to be mad about the loss. And that's kind of how we've operated here, especially this season, with the veteran leadership that we have. On our staff, we talk about, hey, enjoy it. We usually watch film, some learning clips. We watch some, winning plays, things that made us successful in that game. And we move on. We turn the page to the next opponent. And just keeping that process-oriented mindset, I think, is what's really helped this group. And, even practicing here through finals, we haven't played for a week, but it's like you still got to show up, and we're going to get back to business. And that win was a long time ago. It's already forgotten about.
Yeah, one of those veteran leaders I know that you guys have really been able to hang your hat on this season has been Mia Mancini. She obviously came away winning America East Player of the Week this week, and it was awesome for her getting tying her career high with 28 points against BC was awesome for you guys in that one. Just seeing her really be able to come into her own this year, having multiple 20-point games and averaging a career best 15.2 per game, just what has really impressed you about her, from that, freshman year, maybe not having as successful a sophomore year as she maybe had hoped, and now getting back to this point, what has really impressed you most about her during this time?
I'm really happy for her. I'm super proud of her. Just the growth, the maturity, the leadership. Uh, your best players have to be some of your hardest workers, and we talk about that with several of them. But for her, it's just been the growth in terms of her mindset. She wants to be good, and she knows she has a lot of help, and I think that's the biggest difference for her. And we talked about that early in the season. Like, it doesn't just have to be you. You don't have to put up 28 every night. And she doesn't win player of the week without those other guys. And we talked about that today at practice. This isn't just an individual award. Like, this is a team award. Mia doesn't win that without the rest of her teammates. And I think that's been the biggest thing for her. The weight of the world isn't on your shoulders anymore, as it was probably more so as a freshman. And I do believe sophomore year is really hard to follow up after a rookie of the year type of season. So just really happy for her, proud of her. I tell her all the time, what she's done for this program is incredible, to put us on the map, to, put us in conversation with some of the really good teams in the America East women's basketball. And it is a credit to her, and she's really helped lay the foundation with some of her other classmates.
Yeah, absolutely. Other great performances from that game included Mimi Rubino with 15 points, and then also having some good contributions, rebounding, and then getting the steal in there, and then Miranda Nyborg, who we always talk about her and her rebounding, was able to put up 18 points in this one. So when you're seeing her being able to affect the game in multiple ways like that, because she finished with 18, 6, 5, and then one block and one steal, like she's kind of a Swiss Army knife for you guys in that situation. How valuable is that when she's not only doing her thing down low and getting those boards and doing that, but also being a viable scoring threat for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, and that's exactly what I just said. We have multiple people scoring double figures. We could be a really good basketball team and obviously beat, some of the schools like the Power Fours. I think the biggest asset when you talk about Miranda Nyborg is what no one understands is I think she's the glue to this team. Just in her leadership alone and her talk, her voice. She has a really high basketball IQ, and when she's on the floor, we're a better basketball team. So I know everyone looks at the points, but it's just how much of a connector she is on both sides of the ball, and we really appreciate her leadership. She is the most vocal out of all of them, but really happy for her. She deserves it. She's been such a great asset to this program as well. And being in her second year, really comfortable, really bought into Bryant women's basketball and our coaching staff. So, I look at that stuff way more than, people look at the box score with the stats and the points and all that good stuff. She has just been, such a pleasure to coach and such a huge asset for this team.
Yeah. When looking at the remaining schedule going into conference play, I know you guys are facing Georgian Court and then Franklin Pierce in this one. I know that sometimes that's just how the schedule falls and things like that are how they are. And then I know obviously it's a quick turnaround for you guys with the New Year's Day game against UNH. For you and your staff, kind of go into that. I know that, obviously you got to go up, play the game, go for the win, do what you got to do. Is there any kind of change in the approach with that one that you guys have to go through that you guys are kind of thinking about to make sure the team is, up to speed, ready to go for that New Year's Day game?
Yeah, I mean, nothing really changed in the sense as we do stay really, process oriented one day at a time. For us, it's just making sure we sharpen up on some of the things we were a little loose and lax on, whether it be over those 3 losses or, just as we see fit as we go along here. So it's really day to day, but I want to get back to the fundamentals. I want to get back to, moving on a string defensively, some better ball movement as well, and looking at a couple different things that we potentially may add. So, it's a good time. It's a good little break for us to kind of reassess, reevaluate, who we are as a program, where we need to put some more attention to. But but we're not going to change who we are. We look for those, energy, effort, attitude, toughness, and trust principles. When our dogs got to eat motto.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, the next time we're going to talk to you, it's going to be on to conference play. So we're really excited about that. Just, what is the vibe around the team, with this so close and on the horizon? How are the girls feeling? How are you feeling about this? Just, your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked a little bit about, the parity in this league and top to bottom. I think, it's going to be anyone's game on any given night. And, I talk a lot about you got to show up every single day. Consistency wins. And that's how you beat really good teams. And it is showing up every day and sticking to your core principles of who you are.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, we appreciate you taking the time. We look forward to talking to you some more in conference play, and we'll talk to you real soon.
All right. Thanks, Brian. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Take care, Coach.
See ya.
All right, that was head coach Lynne-Ann Kokoski from the Bryant women's basketball team joining us here tonight. Really exciting stuff going on with the program right now. Obviously, getting the win over BC, and then conference play is very very short away. They have like I said, New Year's Day is going to be opening day for conference play against them, 6 p.m. against UNH at the Chase. So really looking forward to seeing how that's all going to go down. I'm really excited about all of that. Matt, we're going to head off to a quick commercial break, though. But when we're back, we're going to be joined alongside by Ryan Klosterman of the Bryant baseball team. Can't wait to talk to him about the 2026 campaign on the horizon. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to 990 WBOB. Welcome back to the Bryant Bulldogs Sports Hour on 990 WBOB. Brian Costa, Matt Carvalho coming at you here on Monday night. We're going to be joined alongside by head baseball coach Ryan Klosterman in just a few short minutes. But before we do, Matt, it's crazy that we're already looking ahead to baseball season here. Obviously, the Bryant baseball team, in its won the America East Championship, the postseason championship in 2024, and then followed it up with a regular season championship this past year. Incredible years, past couple of years by the team, kind of returning to the glory that Bryant baseball has kind of been known as, kind of growing up in the region. Bryant baseball has always been notorious for success. I don't know about you, Matt, but I went to some of the Bryant baseball camps when I was a kid. I've kind of grown up around it. I have, one of Bryant baseball's pro alums, Ryan Ward, lives the town over from me. So I kind of knew him and followed him growing up. So, really familiar with Bryant baseball. Glad to see them, back in this level of success that they have kind of had since, the early 2010s.
Well, first off, Brian, we love Wardo here on 990 WBOB, recurring guest here on our programs. But no, I want to say first, Bryant baseball definitely having a, better last few years than, that other team in New England. I think it's called the Red Sox, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're not wrong there, Matt, but I'll let you continue.
If you were to put the two together, I think it'd be competitive at this point because, one of them doesn't want to spend any money at all. And then the Bryant Bulldogs are here winning titles. So I think Bryant might have their number.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, the Bulldogs have been, a incredible team to watch. Again, like I said, getting a chance to go to those camps as a kid, it was awesome. You got a chance to interact with the players, the coaching staff. They're giving you pointers out there. And, it was kind of stuff that I was even still taking with me when I was playing, varsity baseball for Sutton High School. And it was something that, I still loved to, you did learn and you got to take away that kind of experience. And I got to play alongside some of my good friends. And I remember, hitting, getting hits off some of my good friends that were pitching on the mound, getting a chance to pitch, which was something I'd never done previous to that. So really fun time, really love that atmosphere there. And obviously getting a chance to have him on, it was, getting a chance to have, the baseball team, you're, interacting with all those friends. It's a great opportunity. And what I was going to say is that you have the new turf baseball field that's going in there with the Conity Park. And then you have the indoor facility, which is state of the art, that's been there since 2016 or so. So, the program has always been very formidable, very well known, and it's glad to see what they're able to do there.
Oh, absolutely, Brian. And it's just a program continuing to grow and get better. And just to see the success that sort of team has had, it definitely brings, like something more positive during the springtime, right? Because you get football during the fall and all the events that go with that, and basketball kind of takes over this time of year. And it's good to have a very great, spring program that you can look forward to and can see, the possibility of being in the playoffs and that sort of thing. It's always just great to see during that time of year.
Yeah, and I think that, one of the added advantages you have now at Conity Park with the new turf is that you're seeing games being played earlier and earlier there. I think that, previous to the turf being in there and it being the old dirt field, which, I still love. It was, great getting to see the old grass field and the dirt out there. But that limits you to maybe when you can start your season. Frost warning, that stuff. Now they're playing games in February, and it's a great time. So I loved getting a chance to do all that stuff, and I'd love to see where the program goes from there. But we're now going to be joined on the program by our next guest of the evening. It is head baseball coach Ryan Klosterman. He's joined to us via the Sprout co-working phone lines. Coach Klosterman, how you doing tonight?
How we doing?
Hey, we're doing great, Coach. Glad to have you on the program tonight.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, guys.
Absolutely. Well, we'll kind of just start off tonight. Obviously, you guys have had a ton of success over these past 2 seasons, being in contention for, the America East Championship both years. Getting to, really kind of bring Bryant back to the success it's been, since the early 2010s. Just talk about what it's been like reestablishing Bryant, in this kind of way.
No, we've had a good little run, and I would say, Coach Owens and what he had brought to the program and the tradition was one thing that excited me about the job in general. And then as I walked onto campus in our first year, we ran into COVID, and then there's a lot of things that have happened since with, the transformation of the transfer portal and how you maintain your rosters and things like that. So I'm excited about where we are as a program. I'm excited about the kids that we've continued to bring in and the success that we have had, and it's been a good run so far.
Absolutely. Just kind of give us a recap as to, how this fall has been for, you and the new guys getting in there. I know that you guys made some additions in the portal. Obviously, you have the freshman class coming in. Just, how's this past fall been for you guys?
It's kind of not common. It's almost normal now. The turnover has been plentiful each of the past few years, but our coaching staff does a really good job identifying players and mindsets that fits in with what we're trying to accomplish. And, at the end of the day, we enjoy our time together, and we have unbelievable resources here at Bryant with our indoor facility and with our field and the things that we do have. So we're able to attract a really good recruit, whether that be from the high school classes or in a transfer portal setting. But we have nice things. We have a great education that we can provide these guys, and we've had the ability to bring in a very, very talented group again this year.
Absolutely. Like you said, being able to make moves in the transfer portal, I saw that you guys were able to bring in some notable additions like Zev Salzberg from Ohio State and then Ellis Garcia from West Virginia, making some moves there. What for them, do you think really sells Bryant as that kind of a destination for them?
I think Bryant does a really good job when it comes to players looking for a second chance that may have been at let's call it a Power 4 type school. That might have been for the first time that they've identified themselves as somebody that, I might not need to focus a little bit more so on the education and maybe have that opportunity to go somewhere that both provides a winning atmosphere, the resources that allows me to develop more so, and still play for championships. And I think we have the ability to do that here. And so when you do have guys that, are in those Power 4 schools that are used to having all the resources at their disposal, when they come here and they see it, they see the benefit of the education, they see the benefit of the understanding of how your experience is elevated when you're in a winning program. I think all of those things collectively make this an attractive spot for guys like that.
Absolutely. Another guy that you guys are going to get to see back on the field this year will be Justin Hackett. I know he obviously missed some time last year, and I know you guys are glad to have him back. Just talk about how excited you are to see him back contributing for you guys this season.
Yeah, Justin is he's been struck with some injuries throughout his career, but when he's healthy, when he's right, he's a really, really fun and exciting college baseball player. He's got the ability to do anything and everything on the baseball field, from defending the baseball at shortstop, as well as what he's capable of doing in the batter's box. So, we missed him last year. He was one of those guys that we were trying to get healthy for the stretch run, and it just came down to it wasn't going to happen. And some other guys had some opportunities, some valuable opportunities to get some at bats and get some innings underneath their belt. But definitely excited about getting Hackett back out there to penciling him into the lineup.
Absolutely. Another thing you had talked about was kind of the resources that you have, and another one of those is the fact that you guys have a couple guys now making some contributions in the pros. Obviously, you have Ryan Ward of the Dodger system. You have Mickey Gasper, who's been tearing it up with the Twins, and then James Karinchak, who we recently learned over with the winter meetings, who just signed with the Angels. Having those guys, obviously whether they're from your tenure or not, or whatever it be, just having those guys as resources that, these players can look at and see like, okay, there is still that path for a major league career, for that opportunity. How impactful is that for, you as a coach and, a recruiter and all those things?
Personally, I had the opportunity to play professional baseball for 8 years, and at the minor league level. And as I was going throughout the process here at Bryant, interviewing and looking to potentially come here, one of the main things that attracted me, one, is the resources that we have to work every single day and incrementally get better. But also the idea of, if guys do well, they perform well here, there's an opportunity and an avenue to play at the highest level. And I think it's very, very important. It's kind of one of those self-motivating factors. And we talk a lot about it in the recruiting process with our guys. You're either potentially going to be interviewing with pro scouts, or you're going to be talking to Fortune 500 companies. And, I think that's very, very attractive when it comes to being the best version of yourself on and off the field. So Bryant gives us a lot of avenues from a recruiting standpoint, but that group in particular that you talked about, they're still actively connected to the program. They're not just pictures on the walls and jerseys hung in the locker room. They're guys that come back, they speak to our group, they speak to our players, and I think visibly seeing them as much as seeing their pictures on in the locker rooms and things like that is important, but also they're actively coming back and embracing the program and trying to continue to elevate it every single day. So they're proud of where they came from, they're proud of this place, and they're very thankful for their time that they had here.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, we're up against it now, but I did just want to say that, for you guys, it feels like opening day is just, getting sooner and sooner every year, with the new turf field and having the chance to now get out there sooner for you guys. Just, for you guys now having that, just, does it kind of make it feel a little bit more real? I know that, when I was, playing back in high school and stuff like that, I used to have coaches that would just, as soon as you went on winter break, they would say, well, it's baseball season. That's that time. How do you guys feel about that ramp up process? And, just how excited are you guys?
Well, I think yesterday was a reminder that baseball season is coming with the 3 inches of snow that came in. So it's about that time. It's starting to feel like spring. But the turf field gives us the availability to just work. And again,
yeah.
When you talk about developing and playing at a high level, we never miss an opportunity. With the indoor facility, whatever the weather throws at us, our guys are working on their craft, and they're able to put themselves in a position, we are as a staff, to get them ready for opening day. And it is harder up here. It is unique up here, but you got to be organized and you got to be detailed. And that indoor facility definitely helps us. And then we also throw on some games in February at Conity Park, and it's on the schedule now. Hopefully we'll face Merrimack early on in February, if the weather holds and the snow holds off for us. And if it does, we'll be ready to go.
Absolutely. Well, weather depending, Bryant's home opener will be against Merrimack on Tuesday, February 17th. Coach, we look forward to seeing you guys back at Conity Park real soon. We'll talk to you real soon. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Have a great evening, fellas.
Absolutely. Take care, Coach.
Bye-bye.
All right. Well, that was head baseball coach Ryan Klosterman. Matt, again, glad to have Coach Klosterman back on the program. Great to talk with him. Love talking some ball with him. So can't wait to see, what they do this season. Obviously, some tremendous players. But, Matt, I know we're up against it now, so we're going to head off to a quick commercial break. When we're back, we're going to be joined alongside by head men's basketball coach Jamion Christian. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to 990 WBOB. Welcome back to the Bryant Bulldogs Sports Hour on 990 WBOB. Brian Costa, Matt Carvalho coming at you here on Monday night. Before we get into our next guest of the evening, we just want to tell you to join the WBOB team this winter watching your Bryant Bulldogs at the Chase Athletic Center. Single game tickets for men's and women's basketball are now on sale at BryantTickets.com. For more on the Bulldogs, listen right here to the Bryant Bulldogs Sports Hour. And now joining us for our final segment of the night is Bryant head men's basketball coach Jamion Christian. Coach Christian, glad to have you on the program. How are you doing tonight?
Great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, Coach. I had a chance to talk with you, this past Saturday following the Marist game. We'll just kind of get your opening thoughts from the weekend and, start off from there.
Well, I'm really enthused with the way our team's competing and the ways that we're learning and improving. Tim this week, Rookie of the Week. Last week, Ty, Rookie of the Week. So I just feel like we're really starting to step into our own, starting to see this group how we saw it when we created this team. I'm excited about that. Obviously, we want to play better. We want to compete, and we want to have a chance to win every game that we're in. Two very good teams, Iona and Marist, really taught us some things about ourselves. We've done a great job all year learning, and we're still in that process of learning. But I'm really enthused with our ability and how we're starting to come together as a team.
Absolutely. When you take a look at maybe those games there, obviously I think that, you guys are probably approaching conference play and stuff a little bit differently. How do you guys kind of, maybe take away those games and, maybe kind of gear those lessons towards the players and, and maybe is that kind of treated a little bit different than the conference games? Just kind of, give me your thoughts.
Well, the thing I look at is, number one, we played this tough schedule, the 86th best schedule in the country via KenPom. We did that because we want to know about ourselves. We knew we were going to have an inexperienced group coming into this. The most important thing we can do is really know who we are and who we aren't. So that way, the things that we're doing great, we know we can take with us. Number one defense in the America East with a young team. It's really hard to have a young team and be number one defensively. We have that group. That's a championship trait. The second trait is we've got to be better offensively. Well, what do you need to do to be better offensively? We're getting a chance to learn that against good defensive teams. That's going to allow us to continue to get better and continue to improve. I liken it to like lifting weights. You lift weights to prepare for performance. We've been lifting weights in the non-conference. I'm expecting that to pay big-time dividends for us when we get into conference play because we're going to know who we are. Some of these other teams are going to still be trying to figure it out. We're going to be really sure of it.
Yeah, absolutely. When you kind of looked at the Marist game, there ended up being maybe some, rebounding mismatches that kind of came into play in that one. What do you think kind of maybe contributed to some in that game?
Well, they're a good team and they grind you out. I actually didn't think it was necessarily the rebounding. I thought we had some defensive breakdowns in terms of giving up backdoors. And then Menard obviously got going. He's shooting 22% from three going into the game. To be able to come out and hit 6 threes is probably uncanny of him and his ability. But he was able to step in and do that. So, I think those are the kind of things that you got to learn and we got to continue to identify. Giving up 3-point shots and 3-point makes hurt us against Iona. And the timely threes we gave up against Marist hurt us also. So we've got to really learn that lesson and build that level of awareness out. But again, I think what we've done a really good job of so far this year is things that have hurt us. We've learned from them. They haven't hurt us again, right? And so, we're going to keep trying to just figure that part out. And I think pretty soon we're going to have a pretty cohesive and competitive defensive and offensive game ahead of us because, again, I think we're really improving in all those areas and we're holding ourselves accountable in the right ways.
Absolutely. Like you said in the opening segment, Tim Radofsky named America East Rookie of the Week. Third straight week that Bryant's had a Rookie of the Week. When looking at Tim, obviously, I know he's in a little bit of a different situation than Ty with the age difference there. But, just what has impressed you most about him with his transition to the college game thus far?
His willingness to learn and his willingness to compete. What you want as a guy who's playing college basketball for the first time, you want a guy who's an incredible ability but doesn't attack that ability with ego. He's done an incredible job of attacking his ability with humility. What do I need to learn? How can I be better? Those are great ways for a guy to continue to improve. And he'll do the same thing. He's got a great hunger to be his very best. These are things we saw with him when we recruited him. These are things we exhibits every single day, but he has a great hunger to figure out how to be better at it and how to help our team win and how we can put him in positions to help our team win. He's not a guy that's going to get this accolade and pat himself on the back. He was in the gym today working on some weaknesses right away, right as this announcement came out. And that's what you want. You want guys who are hungry to learn, hungry to compete. I think we've got a great one in Tim, and we're going to appreciate having him and continue to help him get better.
Absolutely. Where do you find him to probably be the most effective? Obviously, a player like him, he's able to shoot the ball from distance, and at his height, that's incredibly impressive. And then he can still make plays down in the low post. Where do you find that he's kind of at his best?
We're using him at all different positions. I think, what we've tried to do is use him as a secondary ball handler. Obviously, Ty Tabas is a great outside shooter, so we want to have some secondary ball handler situations where Tim can create for him or create for others. And, Tim is doing a much better job of adapting to those situations and making those plays. As I think as a scorer, we're kind of noticing that. I thought he had a great week of rebounding the ball. I mean, when you look at his stats, he's really starting to do things all the way across the board. Offensive rebounding the ball as well, assisting and generating. I think he had 2.5 steals a game this week. So he's really starting to imprint everything that he can do on the game. And I try to put him in positions where he can help our team out with his decision-making and his scoring ability.
Yeah, absolutely. This rookie class in general has been incredibly impressive when you look at Tim Tabales and then Ashley Sims. They're both they're all averaging over 20 minutes of game action. Just, for them being able to have these kind of contributions early on, I know that you've had, a lot of success with, bringing in first-year players and getting the best out of them. Just, from these guys, when you've put all this kind of, when you've been, putting all this on them, how much has that kind of impressed you that, it's not just one freshman doing it, but, 3 guys, playing considerable minutes and, having this kind of an impact?
I think we recruited the right guys. We bet on the right people. When you look at, when you're recruiting someone, a lot of people only look at ability. What I look at is this person capable of reaching their full capacity? And we felt like these guys were starter-ready guys right away that had the capability of reaching their full capacity. And that's what it's really all about. And what is reaching your full capacity? Reaching your full capacity, like we talked about with Tim, is having humility to learn, but still having a confidence that you can step in and make a big play. It's about understanding that maybe I don't know everything today, but what I do know is going to be good enough to help me today. And it's a willingness to step in and to assist with the confidence that you have to help other people become better. And I think you see all those traits with this rookie class that we have. And those are things that we're targeting in recruiting. We call each one of these guys an HPI, a high potential individual. And essentially an HPI, high potential individual, is a person that whenever they walk into the building anywhere, they make that building better. They make the people better. They make the food taste better. They make people have better energy. These guys are HPIs, and they're showing that in everything that they're doing. And as they continue to learn the game, we're only expecting really, really great things from them.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, final Division I non-conference game of the year coming up against High Point, and then you guys finish off non-conference play with Worcester State. Just give me your final thoughts, going into those 2 games.
Yeah, High Point's one of the best mid-major teams in the country. They spent about $2 million on their roster, so they got a great roster. Excited to see where we're going and how much we've improved. That's one of the biggest things for us going into that performance. We're yet to win a road game yet, so this will be a great one for us to come in and compete, give ourselves a chance to win this one. So I'm enthused about that. We want to be one of the best teams in our league, and we will. To do that, you got to be able to go on the road and beat other good teams. We're still learning how to do that, but I liked our performance against, a very good Iona team. I'm looking forward to having a chance to go competing at High Point, letting our guys have a great Christmas holiday experience, some time with their family, and then coming back and take care of Worcester State before we start the conference play. So it's an incredibly exciting time of year for us. And, we got to continue to stay focused on what's most important, and that's the ability to improve in this moment and then really have our swords sharpened for conference play and go take care of business there.
And then, Coach, real quick before we go, just obviously the next time we're going to be talking with you, it's going to be on to conference play. Just, give us your thoughts that, going up to Maine, it's a great environment up there. Just how excited are you and the guys for this opportunity?
I know we're going to be excited to play conference play. I think we're going to really feel prepared and excited to go and do that for sure. What we're working with our team on is getting them excited to play anybody that's across from us. I think they've learned how to be able to do that now. That's a big thing for any team, but especially a young team. We talk about gray, nameless faces. They're just traits on a page that are in our way and where we're trying to go and attack. I think we're really making progress. Our guys understand the importance of that. That allows us to be our very best versions of ourselves, which will make us one of the best teams. And that's a big mental point we're still working through, but I like the progress we're making.
Absolutely. Well, Coach, we really appreciate you taking the time. We wish you the best of luck in these next stretch of games, and then we'll talk to you soon when it's into conference play. Thank you for taking the time.
Absolutely. Go.
Absolutely. Go Dogs, Coach. Thank you for taking the time. All right. Well, that was head men's basketball coach Jamion Christian Matt. I know we're up against it here, but any final thoughts from you?
Well, Brian, looking forward to conference play. Oh God, I might be losing my mind. Looking forward to conference play, and my most important question that I still want to know is I wonder what coach is getting the guys for Christmas.
Yeah, it's a great question. We'll have to see. Maybe that'll be in the next installment of the Bryant Bulldogs Sports Hour. But Matt, obviously, as we head into the holiday season, I know that you guys are going to be off next week. So are we. We're actually going to be off through the new year, but we are excited to return in January for another year of the Bryant Bulldogs Sports Hour. We look forward to getting the chance to talk, Bryant basketball as they go into their conference slate, more Bryant baseball, some of these spring sports as they come up. So, Matt, really looking forward to it. But I just wanted to thank you all for a great, first 19 episodes so far this fall. We can't wait to continue this so far, going into the spring. But from the Bryant Bulldogs Sports Hour, I'm Brian Costa. Matt Carvalho is in our Sprout Co-working studios. Take care. We'll see you in the new year.